Melissa Smith. Yeah, Melissa Smith is present.
All right, now if you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now we have approval of previous minutes.
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rob Carruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith, aye.
Okay, now we have any agenda changes and approval of the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Rob Carruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith, aye.
All right, now is opportunity for the audience. If there's any public comments. I see none. We'll go ahead and move on to our special presentation tonight is the Fort Morgan Middle School Administration Team. What is that?
Good evening. How are you guys tonight?
Good. Good.
So this is the better half of my team. So I think everybody knows Eric Christensen and Chad Unrein, my APs at the middle school. Eric also is taking over the the athletic director roles this year. He and I, with our youngest daughters, have both kind of moved into the nobody at home and a little bit less time commitment. So Chad's got young ones coming up, so we've asked him to step back a little bit and have a little more time with family, and Eric's taking over the athletic stuff. So appreciate you guys having us here today, and I really enjoy the opportunity that Dr. Miller has given us to come in each week and just share what's going on at the schools. I think that's a big portion of what we're here about, is what's going on in schools and what we're doing for kids. So just a quick summary where we're at with kids in our school. Right now we're sitting at about 728 kids, 6th through 8th grade. Those of us been around for a while. The middle school was built for 650 average, and so we built it for a little bit more. So we're at kind of the top end of capacity, but we also know we got 3 big classes coming through right now. So we're in the middle of that. But we got great kids. We're still seeing kids coming in, still have kids going out. A little bit of mobility, as we always see in our district. 133 kids that are athletes right now that are out for cross country, football, volleyball, and the grade levels associated to that. And then staffing wise, we're still sitting 3 short in FTE as far as certified teachers, and 1 classified teacher for a TA as well. We just got one of our science teachers here last week. We're getting her acclimated. We've got another teacher coming in here hopefully in the end of the month, and that'll get us another elective. And then let's just hope that we don't grow too much more in our 6th grade level, because we're running a 4-person team in one of our 6th grade levels to manage a shortage there. But we're hanging tight. Our teachers are doing a great job, and they're working hard. So that's a little bit about our school and where we're at. So we've got just a few things we want to talk about tonight. Those are kind of the things we're going to touch on, the building goals and focuses that we have for the year. That was developed with our instructional coaches and admin team, and then transition that to staff the first professional development days of the year. We're going to talk really more in depth about math and Empower, Why You Matter Project, and 20-book challenge. Those are kind of 3 big highlights that we're doing. They all associate back to our school goals in some way, shape, or form. Thanks, Bev, for running the PowerPoint. I didn't know I was going to have that tonight. So our building goals. Lots of things going on, and there's so many overarching things that you could really focus in on for the buildings. But these are things that we really settled in on. Solidifying essential skills that students should know and be able to do for every grade and content, and making sure those are applied to our content or curriculum maps. This really came to light last year, and there were things that we were doing along the way, but COVID and going remote really forced us into that situation of going, okay, we can't teach all the content that we would normally do in person, so what is it we have to get to our kids? And so we spent a lot of time on that last year, learning through some ups and downs over the year, as you guys know, and then really kind of carry that back over to this year and taking that into our curriculum maps and so forth. Continue to focus on the blended learning. Last year, we did the Bold School blended learning book as a book study that really led us through being in remote learning a lot and gave us those techniques. And really what that's talking about is you know, bringing that face-to-face instruction and adding the twist of the digital instruction, or you know, they describe it as old school wisdom with new school technologies. And so we know that, you know, what we learned lessons the last year and a half, we can't lose those on a day-to-day basis. Our kids, they just learn different than we ever did, right? And how the opportunities that we had. Capturing Kids' Hearts, you guys know about Capturing Kids' Hearts throughout the district. We have a outstanding champions team in our building, headed by Chad, and teachers in each of our grade levels, as well as elective teachers that head that up for our building. We make that a point at one PLC a month and at all of our professional learning days and so forth. Language objectives, this is one that we really brought back. This is one, if we go back years, you know, my early time, and then a little bit before as middle school principal, language objectives and that reading, writing, listening, and speaking within the planning instruction every day in every class was a big focus. Lots of things have happened over the years and we've kind of moved away from it, not intentionally, but it's something that we really believed as a building we need to bring back to the forefront of our instruction and our planning every day. Math intervention extensions, we're going to talk about Empower and Transitions Math and give you kind of an insight to what we're doing there. We don't have a lot of robust data, but if you go back to 2019, last time that we did a really in-depth root cause analysis with the data that we had, we really focused in on math and what do we need to do as a building. We haven't lost that focus, but COVID hit. And it was hard to maintain some of the things that we had rolling. And so we've really brought that back to the forefront this year and talked about transitions math and the second year of that program as well. And a Genius Hour. Genius Hour is just something we've been trying to do for a couple of years and just have never really had a chance to really fit it into our schedule. We went away from doing a book study this year as a building for our PLCs. And we're going to bring Genius Hour kind of in instead, especially second semester. Essentially what that is, you know, across my building, we have 6 science teachers or 6 math teachers. We have 12 ELA teachers. We're going to provide time for those teachers to go see each other. And it's not just I'm going to go observe Eric and Eric's going to go observe me. We're going to send all five of our 6 science teachers in to observe that science teacher. They're going to talk about it. They're going to have a debrief. They're going to talk about goods and bads, instructional strategies, things that they saw. And then they're going to hopefully learn something. They're going to take something they can take back to our class because we've got experts across the building that we need to learn from, and that's our best resource by all means to learn from our peers. So that's kind of our building goals for the year. We'll lead into, and I'll talk about the math, and then I'll turn it over to these guys to finish up. Empower, those of us who've been around a long time, it used to be around at the end of the day. It's now Empower. We went through a process with the root cause analysis to really focus in on more math across the building. And so every day we have kind of that homeroom class at the end of the day. It's now called Power. It's derived from the word empower. Empower definition, the process of becoming stronger and more confident. 2 days a week on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, we do math instruction school-wide. It gives us another 70 minutes a week of math for our kids. And the reason for that is we do 100 minutes a day of ELA instruction, but we only do 50 minutes of math. This gives us an opportunity to get some more concepts out there and some targeted intervention with our kids. And the other piece of Empower is really about breaking down that barrier with math. Math just has that aura about it of, I'm not good at it, I'm never going to be good at it, and so I don't want to do it. And that's not what it's about. And we were finding that through our planning, we're giving our math teachers off. They're developing engaging lessons for our kids, fun, exciting ways to learn math and do math that they never really have realized that they could do. And you start hearing that chatter among kids, man, this is fun. Oh man, I'm going to show my mom and dad this. If I would have known math was this fun, I would have. And that's what we love about it. And so our kids are getting another 70 minutes a week of math instruction. We think that's important. It's focused on skill development, breaking down math misconceptions and barriers, extension activities through innovative challenges and games. And I've got two examples, the Pop Tab Challenge and Magic Math Trick. The Pop Tab Challenge, this was the very first activity that we did at the middle school 2 years ago when we first brought this in. My wife gave me the task of building that, which wasn't so bad, except for I had to figure out how many Pop Tabs would fill up to the top to be 1 million Pop Tabs. And so the Pop Tab Challenge was simply that. How many Pop Tabs would equal 1 million of them? You know, and they had to do a ton of math around it. And man, the chatter started going, and then we started collecting Pop Tabs with the goal of giving it to McDonald's house, or Ronald McDonald's house as a charity thing at the end. So it's hard to read. I think we're at about 324,000 Pop Tabs in there. That's about a 6-foot case. And so that's in our hallway. And so fun, exciting thing, and all of a sudden we'll show up with a huge bag of Pop Tabs from somebody. They'll show up and drop them off, and our teachers count them, our kids count them, and we keep a running total. So that's the very first one we did, and that's really where we kind of started and kind of built that excitement from. The next one is one that we just did the start of this year, Magic Math Trick. And we're going to see if anybody is as smart as we are here. Some of you guys have maybe seen this. But again, this is something we presented to our kids. We had them kind of talk around it and see if they could figure it out and what the concept was. So who wants to take a challenge here? Alex? Alex, you're up. Alex, I'm going to ask you to pick any number between 1 and 30.
1 and 30?
Whoa, you can't tell us. Keep it to yourself. 1 and 30. Got it? So all I'm going to ask is it on a certain card as we go through, okay? And all you have to do is say yes or no. Okay, is it on card 1? Yes. Is it on card 2? Okay, is it on card 3? Yes. Is it on card 4? No. Is it on card 5? No. So yes?
Yes.
Is your number 20?
No.
Oh gosh, heck.
How about 21?
Yeah.
He better have So, it's something that gets the kids talking and wondering how to do it. And I obviously can't add very well, so I was too busy on asking you which card it was. But it's just a way for kids to start talking, and then to be in the classrooms and hear those kids going, I think I got it. I think I know you don't, and I can't do it. We had, 2 or 3 kids that figured out how you do that. And we can tell you real simple. Each card, okay, if your number's on there, you add the first number on the top left. If it's not, you don't add it. And so if you saw his cards, he was in card 1, 3, and 5. So you add 1, 4, and 16, and it gets you to 21. So, fun, exciting thing. It's getting our kids excited. I don't know, you're a parent. Did you have your daughter come home and show you?
Yeah.
Did she? Was she able to explain it to you?
No, she kept doing it, and then I tried it for her, and I'm like, I don't know.
I don't get it.
how to do it.
But the goal is to get that excitement. The goal is to get that excitement, get those kids thinking and enjoying math. Okay. And the last one I want to touch base on is transitions math. This also came out of it. This was a proposal that came to us a couple years ago. This is our second year of the program. Originally, it started out to focus on learning development students, our ELD kiddos, and transition from there to a greater number of kids maybe kids that are struggling learners and so forth. Originally, the target group was kind of that 8 to 15 range. We're setting between 20 and 25 at this point. Can you pull that up for me? And so it kind of goes through, if you scroll up just a little bit to the colored ones. We're using transitions math curriculum on this. And so the whole goal behind this transitions math program is catching kids up. We've got kids that are coming to us that haven't been in school for years. They're behind in regards to being on academic track to graduate high school and so forth. And our goal is to take a kid who comes to us with deficiencies in math and have them caught up by high school. If we're not caught up by high school, if you scroll up a little bit, there's actually kind of a chart that keep going, right there. That chart kind of outlines if a kid comes to us with significant low, where they start and where they're going to end by high school. and kids that are on track or not. So our goal is within 3 years, if they come to us as a sixth grader, to have them ready for algebra at the high school. So they would get transitions 1, transitions 2, and then pre-algebra at the 8th grade. And then that would kind of cycle as depending on the level that they're at. We saw some really good growth last year, even in the setting we were in. We had kids that were growing up in the 17 to 19 points, which was huge growth in NWA standards, and able to kind of move them. It became kind of a really creative scheduling thing for the middle school, because we do have kids that come in as a level 1, but they're an 8th grader. And so we're trying to figure out how to get an 8th grade kid in our school setup down to get level 1 math with one teacher. So we got kids kind of moving around the building. It's worked well. It's scheduling nightmare at times, but it's worth it at the end of the day because we are seeing kids benefit from this, and it's something that really came out of some hard work and discussions at the building level. So that's it for me. I'm going to turn it over to Eric and Chad.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, ma'am.
Before you do that? So is there a test that the kiddos are taking for placement with transitions?
So we use, so
administer?
if you go back, do you mind going back to that one? We use NWA as
You're
our
using
screener.
the NWA, okay.
And so
Okay.
if we scroll up to the very bottom of that, there's our cut points.
Okay.
And so we use NWA as our cut points.
And then you're in to evaluate.
Yep, and then,
the-
so that's our
Okay.
base. And so we know going from May of last year, we can identify our kids that are gonna be in ELL math. Once they enter ELL math, or the ELL or low math, they're gonna stay in it. So if they come in as a transition 1, they're gonna go to transitions 2, and then they're gonna go to pre-algebra. No questions asked, because
Okay.
that is the step to get them there. And the colored stuff above really outlines the curriculum that they follow to get there in the transitions. So,
Thank you.
You bet.
So I come here to present the project that Why You Matter project. It's a project that we're doing with Capturing Kids' Hearts. Social emotional health right now is a big topic, right? And we kept our kids in the houses and at home last year, and they didn't get to interact. And we're seeing a lot of different issues coming from those kids not being out and being identified, and us being able to help them on a regular basis. And so the Capturing Kids' Heart team, or the process champions that lead our building in Capturing Kids' Hearts, one of our team members came up with this project, and she's our art teacher, and it's a big art project that we're gonna do. This basically was started by a school that had like 2 kids commit suicide within the month. And so they decided that they needed to find something to make sure that they felt that their kids knew that they mattered. And so they started the Why You Matter project. And so the plan is that it starts out with our literacy, our language arts teachers will do a writing project with our students, and it'll be like a 1-page paper of students describing why they matter or who they matter to in their families. And what that will do is, one thing that will come from that is the kids that can write it really easy will know are doing really well, right? Like, I mean, the ones that are coming up with topics and who they matter to, we're gonna know that they're doing really well. The kids that struggle, that will help us know that maybe we need to be supporting these kids and getting them to see counselors and stuff, because a lot of these kids are very good at putting on the mask and staying under the radar. And so we want to be making sure that we can identify as many kids as possible that need help and feel like maybe they don't matter right now at this time. From there, they're going to go and they're going to take that page, and we're going to get it down to a one sentence basically of why I matter, and kind of their big goal. And if you kind of flip through a couple of these pictures here, you'll see each of these kids holding a chart. I matter because I'm understanding. And so they'll each will come up with that, and we're gonna have them write it on whiteboards. We're gonna take their picture with it, and we're gonna do 8x11s through of every one of our students, okay? And then we're gonna line our school with these pictures of kids holding up why I matter. So each and every day as you're walking down the hall, you can see what's important, how each of us make a difference in each other's lives. Another thing that goes along with the project is we give an open mic session in class. You know, a kid can come up and say, hey, I matter because I'm a father. And so they get that opportunity. And then what they also allow is sometimes it's hard to say why I matter, but I can tell you why each one of you matter, right? And so to give the kids opportunities to come up and take that opportunity to tell their classmates why they matter. And so we're just hoping to really see that, that we're reaching out to these kids, that they feel really important in our building, and that we're here to provide them with everything they need to be successful, and the ones that we need to target, that we can get in there and really look and make sure that they're getting the help that they need. So, okay.
All right, I'm going to talk about the 20-book challenge, and I'm going to hand out some things, so I'm going to leave the microphone, and someone's probably going to be upset. Won't be too bad. So our new librarian, and she's been up a couple of years now. Thank you. She has come and introduced a lot of new ideas, and this is one of her ideas that she stole.
Sure.
And this is a 20-book challenge. This is to promote reading throughout the school, and one of the goals in our school is to promote reading and literacy and math and other things like that. And so this 20-book challenge is for the kids to hopefully read 20 books throughout the course of the year. The item that I gave you looks just like what's up above there, and each teacher was given one of these as well to hang outside their door, window, office, whatever. And as you can see on there, it says to read a book with a villain. You put the title, the author, the day you started, the day you finished. And every teacher was given this, and this one's mine, to hang outside my door. And they're supposed to write on this what book they are currently reading and what they think about the book so far. And as you go through our building, a lot of the teachers have done this and stuck this outside their door. And so for mine, I'm just finishing up a book, Between a Rock and a Hard Place. The author is Aaron Ralston. This is the guy that got trapped in Utah and ended up amputating his arm to get out. And so the reason, what I think so far is this guy was smart enough to write a book, but not smart enough to keep himself out of bad situations. And that's not the only situation he gets himself into. And I just kept thinking, God, this guy's very smart to do that. But we're hoping that the kids can come onto this and that more enjoyment into reading and promoting that throughout. Us being leading by example, hopefully, and the teachers leading by example and showing what they're reading and what their interests are, and hopefully some of these kids will find that. As this challenge moves forward towards the middle of the year, the librarian will have rewards, things to do for the kids that are progressing or have met that. And then at the end of the year, the goal is everybody that's met this challenge, that there will be some kind of party, some kind of reward that this, the librarian, that the school will provide for these kids gathering to see what they've done. The also nice thing about it is you get to see what everybody else is reading. And maybe that'll spur you on to say, wow, that looks like a good book. That looks like something maybe I want to read. And that it's broken down with, it's a book by a villain, a sports book, whatever it is, so that you can find what you think you're interested in and maybe go through there. Now, some of them I noticed didn't have this little paper on them, and some of them did. If you want yours with the paper, I'll give you another one. It just says, it has Tracy's email on, in case you'd like to email her. She also came up with a calendar that also helps the kids to track what they're reading and how far they're reading. So someone like my daughter would already have 20 books read. It's just what she does. It's sick and it's wrong, but that's what she does. And some people will have a hard time reading one. The kids also get this. It says a book with a villain. It talks about which each one is. All stories have a protagonist, a good guy, an antagonist, a bad person. The nice thing about this is these kids are reading this and seeing this. They're also getting this in their literacy classes too. While the teacher is talking about this, this relates back to what they're doing. So they're also learning this as well, and they can learn that through their own by reading these things. If they pick a great book, when it comes time to learn that in their literacy class, they can say, wow, I've already read about that. I understand what you're talking about when you talk about a protagonist. That's the cool thing about this.
So Eric, is this on the middle school website for parents? Because I think this would be a good,
Not yet.
okay, but it's going to be, okay.
We
I
just
think
got
that would
this out to us late last week, right? Early last week, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I don't read a lot of books. I like to read. I just don't make the time to read. And so, and especially in the past year or two, what I've gone through, I did a lot of reading because there's a lot to do. So this was good. And I'm just about to finish this book with this gentleman, and then I'll start my next one. So Any questions about that? No? Anything else about the middle school?
It is. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good information.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to our reports. Then we'll start with our first visit from our Fort Morgan High School student representative, Alex.
So the Fort Morgan High School is going to be staying busy this week. It's a homecoming week, and all the students are showing off their school spirit. Today we have the Powder Puff game at Legion, and tomorrow we're going to have our Rough and Tough, along with the soccer boys homecoming game against Severance. Wednesday we're going to have our homecoming carnival, where many clubs are going to be having their games and booths. One club called LULAC will be having a jumping house at this event. Thursday we'll be having our girls homecoming volleyball game against Niagara, and on Friday we'll be having our prep assembly, our homecoming parade, and our homecoming football game against Discovery Canyon at Legion at 7 o'clock. Sports this year are also off to some pretty good starts as well. Football is 3-0 so far, soccer is 6-0, and gymnastics has placed first in 3 meets so far. The cross-country boys have had multiple top 10 finishes by their runners and 2 team wins in total. The girls cross-country has had 1 team win and a second place win, as well as multiple top 10 finishes as well. Volleyball is 3-7, and the golf regionals are going to be this Tuesday. Many students are showing off their school pride by dressing up for the dress themes of the day. Today was Pajama Day, tomorrow is going to be Camo or Superhero Day, and Wednesday is going to be Batman or Robin, so special duels. Classic is going to be Ric Flair Day or Red Carpet, and Friday we have class colors. The last big event for the student body will be our homecoming dance, which will be this Saturday from 8 to 11, with the theme being neon colors. That's our school report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Did you wear pajamas today?
Yeah, I did. I was about to wear them here, though.
All right, we'll move on to our board reports. We can start with Nancy.
Yeah. We had the BOCES directors meeting last Thursday evening, and so I've uploaded those pages. I'm just going to highlight a few of them. You might be seeing an acronym ARP, that stands for the American Rescue Plan. That might be with some funds coming down to schools, so kind of keep an eye out for those. BOCES did receive some that they'll be using for preschool funds for special ed staffing and meeting the needs of those kiddos. Our Fort Morgan office, as you know, we have a BOCES office here locally, and we had some significant repairs that needed to be made to that. I guess the plumbing in the sewer system had an issue, and they discovered it in May, but it kept getting worse, and they discovered that there was a tree or a pole that was kind of crushing into something, and so they had to really get onto it quicker than they intended. The city paid for a lot of the costs, but BOCES had to wind up paying about $10,000 of out-of-pocket funds to fix 2 sewer lines and some concrete work and tearing up the parking lot and all that good stuff. They also gave a report on the migrant education program. In August, they received the grant award notification of $2.4 million for MEP application and budget. And that grant is going to go from 2021 to 2024 to cover a variety of different options for the 2,300 migrant students in this whole region. The summer, they had quite a few reading festivals and family academies. Those have already passed, so I'm not going to go into those. Just know that they did have quite a few. And with the American Rescue Plan, Centennial BOCES has funds for the McKinney-Vento. That's the homeless kids that are around looking at supplies or supports for those kids. They have $16,000 in emergency resources for youth experiencing homelessness, including health and hygiene supplies. And they had another $16,000 to cover laptops and cell phones and some other things that kiddos might need that are homeless. The alternative licensure program, currently BOCES has 57 students. I say students, these are adults, getting their licensure to be teachers. So they already have a degree, but they have to get their certification to teach. So they have 57, and they're doing remote learning right now because that's too many to get into one setting. They also have 6 candidates that are alternative licensure for principal. They're also, in June, they were trying to do some June training because we're so short with substitute teachers, so trying to get some people some education back there to be able to substitute teach for not only the Greeley area, but all of northeastern Colorado. They received some Title III BOCES professional development money. If you recall, couple years ago, 2 years ago, time gets away from me, the state mandated that all teachers had to have 45 hours of ELL instruction. So BOCES is continuing with those courses. Those have been approved and will continue for those individuals that need that. New teachers coming up, that's already embedded in a lot of their work. They're also developing, last year, the state implemented, regardless if I was a teacher and I had a master's in reading, it would not matter. The legislature put into play that all K-3 teachers had to have hours in literacy, regardless of your degree status. And so BOCES is working with the Colorado Department of Education to get some programs in for those individuals as well. Enrich is the program that special ed uses, and we're looking at going statewide with that IEP system in the 23-24 school year. And I think Chad brought up the social and emotional learning. The American Rescue Plan is getting some funds for SEL curriculums. And looking at those, and so you'll be hearing more about those types of curriculums that might be coming out or might be available. I'll keep my eye out for what they're doing up there as well. And then this one was kind of interesting to me. You know, we have a child fine, and we've always kind of had that individual through our school system that would go and find littles that might need some supports, maybe special ed or some type of additional resources to kind of get them ready or for school. And on June 3rd of this year, Senate Bill 21-275, Child Fine Responsibilities, they are taking that away from the evaluations away from the Colorado Department of Education in school districts and putting it with the Colorado Department of Human Resources. So child fine will be going to human resources, or the child fine human services. And the last thing, Randy Zelia was gone. He was in Wisconsin, so he gave an oral report. He had a family issue. Just as a heads up, Weld RE5J is joining BOCES. And then he did talk about President Biden's mandate with 100 or more employees, whether or not that's going to apply to school districts and so forth. And so he's going to continue to follow that, and of course, follow the health department guidelines as those come down the pike. And then the only other thing I would have for if we have any employees that are providing services for Fort Morgan from BOCES, if whoever they're going to be meeting with here in Morgan are not here, that we let them know so they're not coming down and vice whatever. I don't know that that's really happened,
I don't think so.
but I'm just putting it out there in case
Sure.
it does. And that's all I have. If you have any questions.
Who's that school district?
Oh, I knew you'd ask me that.
5, whatever.
Who is it? It's Johnstown, Milliken.
Johnstown, Milliken?
It's Johnstown. Yeah.
Thanks, Nancy.
You betcha.
Anybody else have a report? All right, we'll go ahead and move on to our superintendent, Dr. Randy Miller.
Okay, before I get to the items that I have, first of all, I hope you guys it's going to kind of be a format that I'm going to invite a different school every meeting just to do, and I thought the middle school did an excellent job. And I tell them just something that, as a board, that you kind of know what's going on in the school, something new, something positive. Hopefully the paper and the newspaper will definitely ask to interview them afterwards and say, boy, you're doing great things there, and go from that. So if you're okay with that, we'll continue it. I'd say next time we'll probably have the high school or one of the elementaries for that. So if you're okay with that, then we're good. So as we go through and open up, the first item that I have there is this is just the health insurance. I was contacted by Brush, and I was on a video conference call for a new health insurance. I wasn't overly excited about it, but I think it's worth our while to at least look. And look at this and the other. I also had an FMEA meeting. I asked them the same question. I said, are you really happy with where we're at? Do you want to look? I said, we don't have a whole bunch of money to spend extra for it. But so I guess my question to you as a board, and where I'm the newbie here, am I missing out on something? Because I told them in the meeting that I'm not gonna proceed and if there's something I'm missing that we shouldn't do. So does anybody have any, and again, it's just looking at it. And it's not this company we're going with. We'll probably look at 3 or 4 different companies and just do a comparison. I think that's good to do with everything along the way. When Tony talks later about a new auditing firm, I think anytime you bring something new in and just to see if it's gonna work. So unless I hear something else, I will go ahead and probably, and it wouldn't take effect, I'm not sure when our new one comes up, but we'll look at that along the way, if that's okay for you. The second thing is the House bill. This is one, so we're approving a lot of policies this time on third and final reading. Okay, is that the right one there? Is that the second one?
That was the second one.
That's the second one. Okay, you're right. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. So this is where Terry and I met with Cbi. They came down and made a presentation to Terry and I, and this is just some facts and figures about Fort Morgan school district, so it gives you an idea of how much ESSER money we're gonna have. Dr. Fresco will probably talk about this a little bit on hers, but even the second page is interesting when you go number of students, students on free and reduced lunch, comparing Colorado students to Fort Morgan students. And again, I thought it was just some good information. They had probably another couple other packets. But I just thought this was something good for you to see. I don't know, Terry, if there's anything I missed from that meeting, but they just wanted to know how we were doing. And I think I didn't mention it last time, and I probably even should have for some of the potential board members. But I know for the board members that's on, regional meetings are coming up. If you're at all interested in those, I know you get them. Just contact Bev. And I think the regional meeting's in Fort Collins, I believe. So if you're interested in that, please let her know. From that standpoint, okay? The next one that's the one I was after before, when we talk on policies. This is gonna be an interesting policy for the next time, and it's not even on first reading here. I'm just throwing out to you that it's up there, so it's not even something I'm just throwing out to you now, because it will be controversial, and we'll say, next time we're gonna do it, and again, if you vote yes on this, it will not include anybody here. It's for future school boards along the way. So, I'm kind of surprised this hasn't come around sooner, but it's there. And again, it's just informational so that you know about it. We don't even have to have a lot of discussion. If you want to, that's fine. But it kind of struck me when we saw those, and I think we have probably 10 or 15. As soon as we finish all of them on third reading tonight, we'll start up with first reading with 10 or 15 more next time. So that's just something informational. The next one is concerning COVID, and again, I find this interesting. So the yellow is this year, where we're at this year. The kind of bluish, greenish, whatever you want to call that color, is last year. And it kind of shows as you're following that, and I know that Rena sent this out a bunch of times, but I find it interesting. And also in my 30 years as an educator, October, November is always flu month, is snotty nose month, is cold month, so it's gonna happen. Right now, when it comes to COVID, we've been honestly pretty lucky. And I've told everybody here, it's probably not if it's gonna happen, it's when, and hopefully how it's gonna work out. I know that Nancy talked a little bit about that with President Biden and saying anybody over 100, you have to have what's gonna happen, and you either have to be vaccinated or you've basically got 2 choices. You either get vaccinated or do a test once a week. And I know that Rob said, well, we got to have a plan in place. Well, we're already halfway there. Right now, Brian, basically, he puts it out for anybody that wants to get tested weekly. Teachers, they can do that. And I think you average 20 to 30, don't you, every week, Brian? So that's already in place. The other part, and again, I've heard nothing from Case or Cbi or anything that's coming down, so I don't know when it'll start. Or I talked a little bit with Rob. I'm sure it's going to be challenged. How that challenge works, my guess is it may even go to the Supreme Court. Don't know. But so do we have a perfect plan in place? No, but I feel pretty good that we already have the testing in place, and then it'll be a matter of saying who has, who hasn't, and which direction we go from there. Okay?
That was kind of what they said when they came to Cbi, that they don't know anything
yeah.
yet. They don't know. They're just kind of waiting, I think. also.
Yeah, what's going on, and see, that's the thing, I don't, and Dr. Zila said the same thing, nobody knows, and what I have found interesting, since that happened a week or so ago, I've gotten nothing
Yeah.
from anybody, from the legislative of Casby, Case, anybody. I've yet to receive anything, and attorneys, I don't think attorneys have come out with anything, so it will be interesting, because I haven't heard a timetable. I haven't said, okay, we're looking at starting this the first of the year, or we're looking at starting it November, or when it's gonna start and what it's gonna look like. So, I know you probably want a little more, but that's basically all I got now, and especially where Casby said the same thing. We're still looking as well. Okay? The last thing I have, and with this sheet of paper, and this is our mill levy override that we have. So, Tony did a good job of trying to put a synopsis of what it looks like, and I'm kind of a bottom line sort of guy, so that people, when they see this, what's my bottom line if I own a $250,000 house? What is it gonna change from what I have to what I'm gonna be? And the last, that up there, I think that's interesting. On the one I have on the overhead, that'll show you schools that are our size. So the yellowish mark is where you're at on where we're at on mill levy override monies right now. And the blue is how much it can be. So you can see, especially some of the smaller schools are basically to the top of their limit on what they do on mill levy overrides. And you get, and I'm actually kind of surprised, Fort Morgan's way low. And even if I have another one that showed the mill levy override, and even with the bond, we're still way below what could be. So, I mean, if somebody were to come to me and say, we're one of the top taxed districts, and we do a lot for, we really don't. Fort Morgan, I think, has done a good job as far as that. And if this 4A, which is the mill levy override, if it passes, that yellow line will even go down a little bit. Because remember, what we're doing here is one of the mill levies, and I've got Mike here, so if I make a mistake, please tell me, Mike. What the mill levy will do is it's gonna decrease, but, we're gonna keep part of it to fund the soccer stadium. And as a final thing, I know that we, Columbine had a thing last Friday, like a pizza party and a fun night, fall festival. And they had like 600 people there, and I know Clint kind of manned a booth along with Nick, and they said everything was pretty positive from what they've heard. So I think we've got the Booster Club kind of taking this on and doing well. And with this sheet, from what I understand, as long as we have that, we can't put on a sheet, vote yes on this. Because then we can't, as a school district, pay for anything like that. All we can do is give information. That's all we can do. Now, if the boosters go out there and decide to do that, that's fine. But I think we want to get this information. Again, a lot of people just need the information to be able to ask questions when it comes up. So I think as board members, when you're out there and people ask you the question, how are we doing it? Are we doing it with this? And even the $2 million where we did the renovation to the high school, there was no bond money. That was stuff that you guys did a good job of saving, and we're able to do that between that and the best grant, be able to finish that along the way. So feeling pretty good about that. I think early voting starts here in the next week or two that we'll be going with that. So, questions from me before we move on? Okay, thank you.
All right, next is our Assistant Superintendent of Curriculum and Assessment, Dr. Rena Frasco.
So first, just a couple items on assessment. If you've already seen, Katie covered the CMAS scores in the paper, not in depth, but growth scores were actually embargoed, and I don't love that they don't release growth the same time they release achievement, because really for me, growth is almost more important. However, we've been in this COVID time, so there are a lot of sheets in your board packet, but here's bottom line for me is we rocked participation compared to the state, which was great news. We had kids still participating in state assessments. And that is a question from the state sometimes when we request to reconsider, because we've not had school performance frameworks, and participation means a lot. So where the state average was like between 59 and 75%, we were mostly in the 90% plus participation, so that's good news. But also a reminder that we did not test like we normally do. So we only tested English language arts in grades 3, 5, and 7, and we only tested math in grades 4, 6, and 8. And then parents had the option to opt in to the additional assessment. And so it was kind of a hodgepodgey, and we did have some parents opting in. So bottom line from all of the data is overall achievement is not great. We're not really meeting or exceeding expectations across the grade levels. In math, even if you look at like PSAT, SAT, that suite of assessments, especially at the high school, is math continues to kind of be a struggle for us. I guess, and like what was covered in the paper is similar to what I believe, right? So our data, we want to use more local assessment data. We want to use NWA, we want to use DIBELS, and not really this summative one time a year assessment. And then the other big piece for us was, okay, we did not have assessments in spring of 2020. Or we had spring of 2020
We didn't have them
in 19. So the growth becomes, 21 we had data, 20 we did not. Okay, so the growth measure gets really convoluted. So all these psychometricians at the state, it's like an 8 or 9 page document to calculate the baseline data for student growth percentile, but it's not growth from year to year, which it's not apples to apples, which I am going to take it with a grain of salt, to be honest with you. And this is what I've told principals in talking about our unified improvement planning purposes. We had some great growth, but again, it's not apples to apples data. And so what we rely on, especially this fall and from our spring data, is really identifying our strengths at buildings from our NWA, which we do reading, language arts, and math, and science. And that is much more telling on solidifying some really targeted supports. So like Jason said, they're using NWA Screener for some of that math stuff, but we want to make sure that that assessment that we give 3 times a year gives us a lot more fluid data on our instructional practices than does like the CMAS, especially from this past spring. Same with the College Board suite of assessments. Of course, we definitely have some work to do. The nice thing about having the whole College Board across the high school is that if a student in 9th grade takes PSAT 8 and 9, and they are linked with their Khan Academy account, they can actually get daily practice problems. So a kid who's really want to solidifying a higher score in the SAT, by the time they're in 11th grade, they can absolutely, it tailors questions based on what kids need to strengthen. So they can look at their answers. I'm going to use Alex as an example. He took SAT as an 11th grader. If he wants to retake it, he can log in and see every single score, every single question that he got correct, and every single question he got incorrect, and why. And so then it will lead him to, like, now they're going to identify problems based on where he needs to maybe strengthen some skill, which is the College Board suite is sweet if you're using it. And then through COVID, it was weird because we didn't give PSAT for you as a sophomore, and so they could opt into it, but we didn't test very many kids, so that really, I think, kind of eliminated some of the things that kids really could have strengthened because they didn't have the chance to take the assessment in the spring. So this is a new year and a new planning time, and so, but I really do, we depend on principals. Our unified improvement plans are due to the state earlier now because of, they just like to move up the deadlines, which is probably a good thing because I've always struggled with the deadline of it being in April, because that doesn't really lead you to do school-based goals in a timely fashion. So we should be basing goals now in the fall of what we would like to see by the springtime. So those will be coming forward to the board at the next board meeting. And if you wade through and have time to look at all of the assessment scores and you have specific questions, please reach out. I'm happy to walk through as much as I'm able for the most recent assessment time. And I will go through NWA, I hope, in the next future meetings. We're still actually tying out some of those beginning of the year assessments to give you kind of a local lens on where we're at. And the only other kind of couple grant things that I actually have are, number one, I told you at the last board meeting that we have our school counselor core grant, that we had $80,000 and then it became $90,000 and now it's become $360,000 for the year. So the state had some additional funds from the legislature, and I thought the grant award letter was incorrect. In fact, I even called the state and I'm like, I think you made a little mistake. You quadrupled our money for a year. So we are getting $360,000 to utilize just this year. So I have moved all of our elementary FTE counselors out of general fund and into the counseling core grant. And then you were mentioning SEL curriculum. We have money for professional development. We are working with a local therapist. She's coming into our school twice a week, 2 days per week. And we're also working with some art therapy that we're just going to start getting going through Colorado Healing and Trauma through Doreen Hills. So she'll be coming in and doing some art therapy. So those opportunities are available because of funds like ESSERS, because it's so focused on mental health, but also the school counselor core grant. And hopefully this is year 2 of 4. So we'll be hopeful for the last years 3 and 4 that we get just as much funding to continue the sustainability of all the work that we're doing at the levels that we need to for our students' mental health. And then finally, late last week, I think you remember, hopefully in the spring, it was like March or April, when I had discussed the opportunity to go with Salud into this national grant writing opportunity that was a really tight timeline, and for a student-based health center. We were just awarded that grant with Salud to open a school-based health center. And what does that mean? Well, we're going to be meeting with Salud very shortly with a team from Morgan County School District and with Salud with their executive team. If you remember that we're going to house the school-based health center, student-based health center down at the high school where the teen parent center used to be. And it will be available for, there will be a full-time doctor/nurse practitioner, will be mental health supports, supports just for all of our families. And so really, we didn't actually think that there was probably an opportunity because it was a national grant, but we were awarded. And so I will keep you posted on more information as we get going. But we do know that we have 120 days from the grant award to begin services. And so also a tight timeline, actually, when you think about doing some things in that building and making sure that we're all fully serviced. But Salud will have a huge hand in that. The school district is just really partners on making sure that we get it out to the community. So excited about that opportunity.
Will you bring to us, when you figure out how you're going to get it out to the parents and everything, how that's going to work? I'm curious.
I certainly will. It was so shocking, the news. I was like, oh, I had to read it like 3 times. Oh my gosh, we got the grant. That's awesome. And now it's kind of now the implementation phase. And so Mr. Anderson will be meeting with that. We met with the dental group last week there, and they will also continue their dental services. The SMILES program will be still housed at every building. It won't just be housed at the student-based health center, because we know how important those dental services are to keep at all of the other buildings, but that they will be also housed for the high school out of that building. So, other questions?
Was that a continuing grant?
It is not, although Salud had to put in there for sustainability on their end, and so up front, it will pay for the cost for like personnel, construction potentially, if they have to put something, switch something in the building, but then long-term, sustainability will come from Salud. So we actually, fiscally, it's not anything on our end, it's just we're allowing them to use our facility.
And when will CMAS parent scores information go out?
Already did.
It has gone out.
All the parent reports were nicely stapled to the letter that the state sent out. I know as a parent I got it. I hope parents in the room, you received CMAS scores. And if you didn't, you should ask your child where they are. So yeah, we sent them out last week or a week and a half ago. As soon as we get them here at the district level, we disseminate them to buildings.
Who is the local counselor? that's gonna be coming into the schools?
Kat Anderson.
How did we come to that decision?
We actually reached out to all of our local therapists, so we were hopeful that we had more than one. And because of timing with clients, we actually were back down to one. We had multiple signed up. So if you have someone else who's interested that we, for some reason, didn't get a hold of, please let us know, because I think the thing is we know that we have kids who need those supports, and long-term in our community, we don't really have accessibility for long-term. No one has openings, it seems. And we do work in conjunction also with Centennial Mental Health, right? And we also have a student or a school health professional that works specifically with students. That's another grant that we have for students that have substance abuse issues. And that's also unfortunately needed. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now to our CFO, Tony Miller.
Well, good evening. I just have to say my first month was really great with the district. Everybody has been so welcoming and helpful. It has made it, I wouldn't say super easy, but an easy transition to start getting my feet on the ground. I'm also very grateful that I have Mike Lee as my advisor, because he's been very helpful in helping me understand things and putting things together. And so I'm just thankful that I have that piece for this job. Two of the things I want to talk about are pending board approval. So I'll just be giving you information about what will be if the board approves. We had to get an auditor in place. We're a little late even getting that done. The people that audited us last year didn't want to do it this year. Between Mike and I, we looked at 6 different firms. Mike did most of that legwork. There were only 2 that were willing to bid the audit. And we would like to select Moss Adams. They are a multi-state firm. I have worked with the firm in a different capacity. I was doing telecom accounting, and this is school accounting. And I contacted them and said, do you have a location that does school audits, just so we could get a bid? And I was in touch with a partner up in, I think, Oregon, but they also have a Denver office, and he'll be coming down to do the field work. If we do select them, the field work would start November 22nd. And then because of the late timing, we're going to file for a 60-day extension. So that'll be due at the end of February, and they've promised us they'll get it done in time. In the next few days, my department's going to start putting together the audit books with all the reconciliations and all of that going on. And hopefully we'll have everything good to go when they get here in November. I know from past experience, first-year audits, there's a lot of questions, a lot of schematics you have to fill out, which just almost make you go blind, but they're very thorough. That's one of the things I liked about Moss Adams, working with them in the past. And they've always made you feel like you're the only client they have, and they have thousands and thousands of clients. So I think they'd be a good resource if you agree. The next thing is also pending board approval. We have put in for a job change in the finance department that would sort of level up the person that's in that job to do higher level things than what they've done in the past. We hopefully have a new hire that'll get approved tonight as well, and the finance department will be fully staffed. We'll be able to reclass the jobs and different things that people are doing so it makes more sense. Penny has just about worked herself to death because she's been doing 2 people's jobs, and she never complains. She just puts her head to the grindstone and works. But maybe we can get her back to work on a normal day if we can get all this done. By putting in the new people and the job change in our department, our annual savings will be about $51,000 between salaries and benefits. Have you noticed the fly goes right to who's talking? That's really odd. So anyway, I was excited that, the savings is pretty substantial and we'll be fully staffed, which is really exciting. And the final thing is budgets and catching up. That's a lot of what I've been doing in the last month is, getting our reconciliations caught up and working on the budgets to get them to where the discretionary numbers, we get those from the different buildings and departments, and we can get those put in and then get rolling on those. I'm hoping by next meeting we could maybe have a look at our spending to budget percentage to see where we're at for the year. And other than that, that's all I had.
thank you. On to our Human Resources Director, Dr. Brian Childress.
Thank you. So the Morgan County School District just went through a CBI audit, similar to many other organizations in the state. CBI has been not auditing actively for, I don't know, as many years as I can remember. And this last 2 years, they've decided to step up and contact folks, and it's been very good. It's been really helpful to just sort of smooth out our process and make sure that we're doing what we need to do in terms of keeping private information private and keeping it where it needs to be, and also disposing of it when it needs to be disposed of. So the outcome of that audit will be a policy that you'll see in the next batch of policies, not this one, but you'll see a GBI policy that comes in the next batch. But the process was very smooth. CBI was great, very informative, and helped us quite a bit, I think. We are right in the middle of our switch from paying classified folks on a monthly basis to paying them over a 12-month basis, which is going to be a great help for those folks. It'll stabilize their paychecks through December, June, July, August. It'll also give them a chance to earn retirement credit where they were not previously earning retirement credit. That being said, Bev and Dan Legler and Clarissa Munoz and Teresa Kramer have been working hours and hours and hours to make this change. So kudos go out to them, because they really have been working hard to make sure that everything is right for payroll. We know that there may be a mistake. If there is, we'll get it fixed right away. And then speaking of mistakes, I found we worked really hard on the stipend list for tonight for you guys to be able to approve, but we did find one error. Tara Boyer was nice enough to pull me aside and say, we left the old principal's name on when it should be a current employee in that slot. So as you approve stipend list number 2, at the end, please know that we'll be changing that from the prior principal to Mackenzie Miller, who's currently in that position. So there you go. Thank you.
All right, thank you. What's that?
If I may supplement
Oh.
Tony's
He's digging
and Randy's report, just a couple of things. Dr. Frasco has been working for months and months, and since our ESSER 3 project has been awarded from the Fed through the state on student recoveries and credit recoveries and enhancements and all that. But a piece of the ESSER 3 is also the quality of the health control facilities in our district buildings. That's a component of ventilation and filtration and all those things. So the district's been working on that for some months, and Mark Clapper, Director of Facilities, has been kind of getting inventory of our current facilities, capacities, what can we do to enhance filtrations, purifications, and a lot of that doesn't necessarily line up with older type of units. So our owner's rep firm that's been helping us on our construction project at the high school is possibly going to be submitting us a proposal to help us redefine all of our current situations, all the things that we have available, what it would take to enhance those. You just can't necessarily put a better, higher quality, more cleansing filtration system on an old airflow unit because you don't have enough capacity to do that. So we may have to be replacing some of those. So we're looking at kind of tag teaming with Mark's work and his facilities guys, also with Cooperative Strategies to help us get a comprehensive analysis of what we have in all our buildings and where we can address those health ventilation upgrades, and then start to put a cost to that, and kind of in coordination with what Dr. Frasco is doing with the credit recovery, because from the presentation that Randy gave on the CASB numbers, the ESSER 3 is $3.6 million. For RE3, a significant amount of resources. Primary focus will be on the credit recovery and student enhancements, and then the other component will be this filtration system. So hopefully we'll have some kind of information come through from our owner's rep consultants that'll give us some ideas of what it may take to get a full quantification of our current facilities, capacities, flow volumes, and then look at what it might take us to be able to use some of those ESSER 3 monies to upgrade our existing filtration system in our buildings wide to address that health safety issue that was one of the primary focuses of the COVID thing. So we'll hopefully have some of that information for the board coming up so we can start to get that quantified. I think, Rena, you have a December date kind of to submit all that, so we're wanting to get that all concluded prior to that, so she'll have that component of the budget proposal that goes up to CDE for the ESSER 3 money.
All right, our discussion items, all there is our policies that are all there for third reading that we will approve tonight. Anybody have any questions? No? Everybody? All right, we'll go ahead and move on to our consent agenda. There's the personnel action report along with the stipends. I did have a question on on the other stipends. I don't believe that the 8th grade volleyball head coach is right either.
Which,
Middle school. Just saying, I don't think that it's not Allison Uris anymore, is it? So then we have July and August check registers, and so we need approval of consent agenda.
I move we approve the consent agenda with the above noted changes.
I second.
Terry, I need to abstain from that vote. One of the checks that was made to the agency, which I make a direct interest on.
Sure. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call.
Rob Caruth,
Abstain.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy.
I'll need to abstain as well for the same reason that Mr. Kroof did.
Means it's up to me, Melissa Smith, aye.
All right, we'll go ahead and move into our action items. Action item A is the 2021-2022 Fort Morgan High School Athletic Handbook and Risk Management Plan.
I had one question on that, Clint, maybe. So it speaks to activities and athletics, but then all of the rules apply to the student athletes, cite student athletes only, so are students in drama, orchestra, all of that, are they subject to the same rules that the student athletes are subject to, or that a separate type thing?
No, it should all be athletics and
It
activities.
says student athletes, whenever you cite something, a rule or an activity, or you can't swear, or all that, it always says student athlete, it never says.
There's a big chunk of it that is geared towards athletics, but I believe it's supposed to be for both, so.
Okay. That wasn't clear to me when I read it, that's why I was
Okay.
asking.
Since we're asking questions, I don't expect it to be changed just because I'm asking, but there's one part in there where if a student is cut from a team,
Mhm.
they get a refund, but they have to go request it. Is there any way that maybe that could be done for them?
Yes, that is definitely something we can definitely look at.
I mean, for instance, it says student responsibilities. A student athlete's been in school all day, can't do this. A student athlete's been gone the last 3 periods, can't do this. Student athlete missed any portion of a period, can't do this. I mean, all of that is relative to student athletes only as I read that. I just wonder if that applies to other student activities, or if we're limiting that to athletics.
A lot of that has to do with participating in games and practice, and so I think we can definitely look at updating that to include more activities.
I mean, profanity by student athletes won't be tolerated. I mean, it always referenced student athletes, and if we want that broader, we probably should make that clearer.
Yeah, and it's definitely something, with a new admin team, we definitely got on our eyes on this later than what I would have liked, but we're gonna be, hopefully with the consistency at the leadership level at the high school for the next several years, that we'll be able to get this and make it a better document that is definitely
Well, I
ironclad.
mean, the intent is to apply to any
Right.
students doing extracurricular activities.
Correct.
That's the intent of the document.
Correct. All right, thank you.
Correct. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Roll call?
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith, aye.
All right, action item B is the Fort Morgan High School participation at the FFA State Association Fall Conference in Colorado Springs on October 2nd and 3rd of 2021.
I move we approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call?
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith, aye.
Okay, action item C is the Fort Morgan High School participation at the FFA National Convention in Indianapolis, Indiana, October 26th through the 31st.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call?
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith, aye.
Real fast, Terry, if I could.
Yeah, sure.
The ag teacher was going to present tonight, but apparently we lost out on a
The
powder puff game.
Yeah.
But even better, I think what they're gonna do is go to the national convention this other and then come back and present, especially since we have a horse judging team participating and actually won the opportunity to participate at a national level. So they'll be coming back after the national convention, which is actually better to say, how was the experience, and be able to report to the board. So just kind of an update on that.
Thank you. All right, action item D is a memo of understanding with Evans Early Childhood for Colorado Preschool Program Funds.
I move we approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call?
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith, aye.
Action item E is a donation from Jeff and Cindy Schneider to Sherman Early Childhood Center Library.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just once again, thank you, Jeff and Cindy Schneider.
Roll call?
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith, aye.
All right, action item F is to approve the audit firm Moss Adams LLP.
I move to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call?
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith, aye.
Action item G is for realignment of responsibilities and duties in the finance department.
I move we approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call?
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Lapp,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith, aye.
All right, action item H is a donation from Leprino Foods to Columbine Elementary.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Labb,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith, aye.
Action item I is policy reading that started June 30th of 2021. This is our third reading and final approval.
Move to approve?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Rob Caruth,
Aye.
Derek Gerken,
Aye.
Nancy Hopper,
Aye.
Terry Labb,
Aye.
John Proudy,
Aye.
Melissa Smith, aye.
All right, our information items, we have newsletters there for Green Acres and Lincoln High School. In advanced planning, our next regular board meetings are in October 4th and October 18th. This is Fort Morgan High School's homecoming week. And October 14th is Professional Development Day, and fall break is Friday, October 15th through Monday, October 18th. That should be it for tonight, so it's 8:17 p.m. and I'll adjourn.